Spring 2020, and across Europe, a digital fortress was crumbling. EncroChat, the encrypted phone network trusted by thousands of serious criminals, had been breached. French and Dutch authorities had cracked what was supposed to be uncrackable. And now, mirrored data from tens of thousands of devices was flooding into law enforcement servers across the continent. For years, organized crime groups had believed these phones made them invisible, untouchable. But every message, every plan, every confession had been quietly recorded. 2 years later, September 2022, a lorry rolls into Tangier port, Morocco. Routine border check. A man hands over a Maltese passport, but something doesn't match. The officer runs a fingerprint scan, and an alert flashes across the screen. The man standing in front of him is Nana Opon, wanted for murder, firearms offences, and drug trafficking across the United Kingdom. He's been missing for over 2 years. 8 months earlier, May 2022, Alicante, Spain. Armed officers surround a small apartment near the coast. The door comes down at dawn. Inside, Callum Halpin, another fugitive, another murder, another man who thought distance could keep him free. 2 assassins, 2 continents, 2 executions carried out with chilling precision, and both men certain they disappeared for good. But they were wrong. This is the story of 2 killers, 2 dates, and the digital evidence neither could outrun. But to understand how a fingerprint scan in Tangier and a raid in Alicante closed 2 murder files 200 miles apart, we need to go back to June 13th. Welcome to UK True Crime Files. If you value deep, fact-based investigations into real British crime, hit subscribe. Every week we break down the cases that changed the law, exposed hidden systems, and reshaped how justice works in the UK. June 13th, 2020. Just before 5 a.m, Roydon, Essex. A private party is winding down in this quiet village outside Harlow. Robert Powell, 50 years old, a father of 3 and grandfather of 2, steps outside with his 2 adult sons. The street is calm, residential, families asleep in their homes. Then, the flash of gunfire. 8 rounds tear through the early morning silence. Powell collapses beside a parked car. 2 women standing nearby are struck by a single bullet. It passes through one and embeds itself in the other's ankle. By the time the gunfire stops, Robert Powell is dead on Waterloo Lane. The killers are already gone. Now, rewind exactly 2 years. June 13th, 2018, 4:40 p.m, Ashton, Greater Manchester. Luke Graham, 31, a father of 2, pulls up on Birch Street in a white Volkswagen Caddy. He's there to help a friend, a local drug user known as Peanut, who'd sent word that he was in trouble, that rival dealers were threatening him. Graham doesn't know it's a trap. As he sits in the passenger seat, a figure appears at the side door, slamming it shut, blocking any escape. At that exact moment, another man steps forward, raises a handgun, and fires 5 rounds through the window. 3 bullets strike Luke Graham. He's killed instantly. His friend Anton Verigota is hit as well, seriously injured, but he survives. Children had been playing on the street moments earlier. Families watched from their doorsteps as the stolen Audi sped away, leaving Graham slumped in the front seat, motionless. 2 execution-style killings, 2 suburban streets, both brazen, both public, and both carried out on June 13th, 2 years apart. Within weeks of each murder, detectives hit the same wall. No murder weapon recovered, no suspects on UK soil, and in both cases, the men responsible had vanished. 2 dates, same day and month, 2 years apart. Coincidence? Or something darker in the underworld calendar? Detectives wouldn't find that answer in the street, but in the phones the killers thought were untraceable. Long before Nana Opon's name appeared on Britain's most wanted list, it was already whispered in East London's underworld. To detectives, he was a committed, high-level criminal. To those who knew him, he was the man who always walked free. May 2010, the Sugar Lounge in East London. Opon's own birthday celebration. What should have been a night of music and drinks ended with chaos and blood on the pavement. Outside the venue, a shootout erupted between rival groups. Two men, Eugene Brown and Patrick Ford, were gunned down in the street. A third, Michael Smith, was left fighting for his life after being shot 6 times, including once in the head. Opon was accused of arming one of the gunmen and pointing out the victims moments before the killing. Twice, he stood trial for murder. Twice, the jury failed to reach a verdict. By 2012, all that stuck was a charge for perverting the course of justice. He'd been caught lying to police about his role that day. He served 2 years and walked free once again. Just 4 years later, violence followed him once more. May 2014, Dagenham. A birthday party at a community hall. Ashley Latty, a young father, was beaten and stabbed to death outside. Witnesses described a frenzied attack, kicking, punching, stabbing. Among the group charged, Nana Opon. Again, he faced a murder count. Again, he avoided it. This time, he admitted only grievous bodily harm with intent, serving a short 4-year term before release. To the police, it was a pattern. Whenever violence erupted, Opon's name appeared somewhere in the file, but no conviction ever held. He was careful, disciplined, detached, never pulling the trigger himself, but never far from those who did. By the late 2010s, Opon had become what detectives quietly called the Teflon Don. A man steeped in drugs, guns, and revenge who somehow never stuck to the crimes around him. But in 2020, that illusion would finally fracture. Meanwhile, 200 miles north in Greater Manchester, another violent reputation was taking shape. Wade Cox, 34, an established dealer whose crew had links to organized crime across Tameside. According to prosecutors, Cox's group was larger, better resourced, and prepared to use extreme violence to assert control over the local drug trade. Standing opposite him, Luke Graham, part of a rival network supplying cocaine and cannabis across the same streets. Prosecutor Michael Brady, KC, would later tell the court, the rivalry provides some explanation for the extreme hostility that resulted in this shooting. By June 2018, warnings had turned to planning. Cox's group had started talking about sorting the situation once and for all. Two men, two reputations built on violence and evasion. Both certain they could act with impunity. But if Opon and Cox were careful enough to dodge murder convictions before, how did they get so sloppy in 2018 and 2020? The answer lay in something they trusted more than silence: encryption. By early June 2020, something was brewing in East London. Encrypted messages were flying between handles on the EncroChat network, handles that investigators would later identify as belonging to Nana Opon and his associate, Khalid Shah. Opon's handle, ENS, Shah's, Slick. On June 5, 2020, messages showed the pair planning a hit in Beckton, East London. Surveillance footage captured a 3-car convoy circling the area. A stolen Audi S3, a Range Rover, a white van. They were searching for a target. But the hit didn't happen. The target wasn't where they expected. On EncroChat, Shah vented his frustration. Sick of the acting, bro. 8 days later, they got another opportunity. The night of June 12th into the early hours of June 13th, that same 3-car convoy appeared again, this time in Roydon. CCTV caught them moving slowly through the village, circling the residential streets where Robert Powell's party was taking place. This wasn't random. This was patience, precision, stalking. Then came the order. In the days leading up to the shooting, messages on EncroChat showed Opon requesting 9mm ammunition. The timing aligned perfectly with the movements captured on camera. Just before 5 a.m., the convoy stopped. Opon and Shah stepped out. Moments later, 8 rounds shattered the quiet, and Robert Powell fell dead beside his sons. 200 miles north, 2 years earlier, another execution had unfolded with the same cold calculation. June 13, 2018. Callum Halpin and Wade Cox had been planning this for weeks. Their weapon, manipulation. Their bait, a man known locally as Peanut, a vulnerable drug user caught between rival groups. Peanut was used to lure Luke Graham to Burt Street in Ashton-under-Lyne. The message was simple: I'm in trouble, rivals are threatening me, I need help. Graham, loyal to his crew, responded. At 4:40 p.m., he arrived in a white Volkswagen Caddy with Anton Veragota. They thought they were helping a friend, but a stolen Audi was already waiting, engine running, positioned for a quick escape. As Graham sat in the passenger seat, Callum Halpin approached the side door and slammed it shut, trapping him inside. At the exact same moment, Wade Cox stepped forward, raised a handgun, and fired 5 rounds through the window. 3 bullets struck Luke Graham in the head and torso. He died instantly. Veragota was hit as well, seriously injured, but he survived. Seconds later, the stolen Audi sped away. Within the hour, it was found torched in Gorton, evidence burning along with the interior. 2 assassinations, both meticulously planned, both executed in seconds, and both killers certain they'd covered their tracks. But in the smoke and chaos, every move had been recorded. For years, criminals across Europe had placed their faith in a single piece of technology: EncroChat. These weren't ordinary mobile phones. They were modified devices, stripped of GPS, cameras, microphones, running on encrypted servers located outside the reach of most law enforcement agencies. Messages self-destructed. User identities were hidden behind handles. To the thousands who used them, EncroChat was untouchable. But in early 2020, French and Dutch authorities achieved what many thought impossible. They didn't just crack the encryption, they mirrored it. Every message sent on the network was being copied in real time, stored on secure servers, and shared with police forces across Europe. By July 2020, the UK's National Crime Agency had access to millions of messages from thousands of British criminals, including 2 handles that would crack open the Roydon murder investigation: ENS and Slick. Investigators cross-referenced the timing of messages with CCTV footage from the night of June 12th and early morning of June 13th. The correlation was exact. Conversations about ammunition, about movements through Roydon, about frustration over the failed Beckton attempt, all of it matched the surveillance timeline down to the minute. On June 15th, just 2 days after Robert Powell's murder, Oppen deleted his EncroChat chat history. But it was already too late. The messages had been preserved, mirrored to servers he didn't even know existed. For the first time in his criminal career, Nana Oppen had left a confession he couldn't erase. 200 miles north, a different kind of evidence was closing in on Wade Cox and Callum Halpin. CCTV captured the stolen Audi arriving on Birch Street minutes before the shooting. Automatic number plate recognition cameras tracked its route from Ashton-under-Lyne to Gorton, where it was found torched within an hour of Luke Graham's murder. Forensic teams recovered shell casings from the scene, 9mm rounds consistent with the weapon used. But it was the digital footprint that sealed the case. Cell site analysis showed Wade Cox's mobile phone moving in tandem with the stolen Audi throughout the afternoon of June 13th. Callum Halpin's phone showed the same pattern, both devices placing the men at the scene during the exact window of the shooting. After the murder, Halpin was captured on CCTV at a local pub, then at a gym, acting as though nothing had happened. But his phone had already told a different story. Witnesses came forward. One described seeing Halpin slam the van door shut, trapping Luke Graham inside. Another confirmed Wade Cox raising the gun and firing. Digital imprints, cellular records, CCTV timestamps, witness statements. For years, these men had hidden behind silence and alibis, but this time, their tools betrayed them. By late 2020, arrest warrants were issued for Nana Oppen, Khalid Shah, Wade Cox, and Callum Halpin. But when police kicked down doors across London and Manchester, every suspect was gone. By the time arrest warrants were issued, Nana Oppen had already left the country. Using false documents, he slipped across the border into Spain, moving between safe houses controlled by organized crime networks along the Costa del Sol. For months, he stayed ahead of surveillance, changing locations, changing identities, keeping his movements unpredictable. But Spain was never going to be his final destination. By mid-2022, Oppen was attempting to cross into Morocco, perhaps believing that North Africa would offer the kind of distance and anonymity that Europe couldn't. the National Crime Agency, working with Interpol and Spanish authorities, issued a red notice. His photograph appeared on Britain's Most Wanted campaign, circulated across European airports, border crossings, and police databases. For 2 years, he remained a ghost. Meanwhile, in Greater Manchester, the Luke Graham murder case was already closing. December 2019, Manchester Crown Court. Wade Cox stood trial for murder, conspiracy to possess a firearm, and perverting the course of justice. The evidence was overwhelming. Cell site data, CCTV footage, witness testimony. The digital and physical trail left no room for doubt. The jury found him guilty on all counts. Cox was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 36 years. His associates, those who had helped plan the ambush, dispose of evidence, or provided support after the killing, were sentenced alongside him. Caleb Connolly, 20, 5 years for assisting an offender and perverting the course of justice. Christopher Atkinson, then 41, 5 years for the same charges. Dean Cornforth, then 34, 7 years. John Dodd, 27, 4 years. And Philip West, then 41, 2.5 years. But one name was missing from the courtroom: Callum Halpin, the man witnesses identified as slamming the van door shut. The man whose phone placed him at the scene had vanished before police could arrest him. Investigators believed he'd fled to Spain's Costa del Sol, an area long known as a refuge for British fugitives. False identities, cash payments, organized crime connections. It was a network built for disappearing. In 2021, Halpin was named to Britain's Most Wanted list under Operation Captura, a joint initiative between the National Crime Agency and Spain's National Police, targeting UK fugitives hiding in Spanish territory. 2 continents, 2 fugitives, both convinced geography could save them. In December 2022, Spanish police raided an apartment in Alicante. Armed officers surrounded the building at dawn. The door came down. Inside, Khalid Shah, Opon's associate from the Roydon shooting, was taken into custody without resistance. He was extradited to the UK in March 2023. 5 months earlier, another breakthrough. But in September 2022, a lorry crossing into Morocco triggered an alert that would close the Roydon file. And 5 months later, a door in Spain would do the same for Ashton. September 2022, Tangier Port, Morocco. A lorry approaches the border crossing. The driver hands over a Maltese passport to the officer on duty. The photograph matches the face, but something feels off. The officer runs a fingerprint scan. Within seconds, an alert flashes across the screen. The man standing in front of him isn't who the passport says he is. His real name, Nana Opon, wanted for murder, firearms offences, and drug trafficking across the United Kingdom. Moroccan authorities, working with the DGSN, Morocco's national police force, detained him on the spot. For 2 years, Opon had evaded capture, but a single fingerprint scan had ended his run. Extradition proceedings began immediately. By June 2023, he was back on British soil. Bodycam footage captured the moment he was escorted off the plane. Handcuffed, silent, flanked by National Crime Agency officers. The man who'd spent years outrunning the law was back where it all began. 8 months earlier, May 30th, 2022, Alicante, Spain. Spanish police surrounded a small property near the coast. Armed officers moved into position. At dawn, the door came down. Inside, Callum Halpin. He was arrested under a European arrest warrant and held in Spanish custody while extradition was processed. By early 2023, he was back in the United Kingdom, facing trial for the murder of Luke Graham. May 2024, Woolwich Crown Court. Nana Opon and Khalid Shah stood trial together, charged with the murder of Robert Powell and the wounding of 2 women struck by gunfire that morning in Roydon. The prosecution, led by Justin Rouse KC, presented the EncroChat evidence in full. Messages between ENS and Slick discussing ammunition, movements, frustration over the failed Beckton attempt. CCTV footage showing the 3-car convoy circling Roydon in the hours before the shooting. ballistics linking the rounds recovered at the scene to the ammunition discussed in the encrypted chats. Oppon denied the charges. His defense argued that investigators had identified the wrong EncroChat handle, that ENS wasn't him. Khalid Shah admitted being present that morning but denied any involvement in the shooting itself. The jury didn't believe either of them. Both men were found guilty. Nana Oppon was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 38 years for murder and grievous bodily harm. The two women wounded in the attack, innocent bystanders, caught in gunfire meant for someone else, were acknowledged by the judge as victims whose lives had been forever altered. Khalid Shah received life with a minimum of 26 years. At the sentencing hearing, the judge described the killing as a planned and targeted execution, carried out with chilling precision in a quiet residential area. Across the country, in Manchester Crown Court, February 2023, Callum Halpin stood trial for the murder of Luke Graham and the attempted murder of Anton Veragota. He denied being present at the scene. His defense claimed the cell site evidence, the CCTV footage, the witness statements, all of it was circumstantial or mistaken. The jury disagreed. The digital evidence was overwhelming. His phone placed him at Birch Street during the exact time frame of the shooting. CCTV captured him slamming the van door shut, trapping Luke Graham inside. Witnesses identified him as the man who blocked any chance of escape, while Wade Cox fired 5 rounds through the window. Callum Halpin was found guilty of murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 30 years. 4 years, 2 extraditions, 2 life sentences. Behind every conviction, there are families left to grieve. Robert Powell was 50 years old when he was gunned down outside that party in Roydon. A father of 3, a grandfather of 2, a music manager who built relationships across London's entertainment scene for decades. His family waited 4 years for justice. 4 years of appeals, extradition hearings and trial delays. 4 years of living with the knowledge that the men responsible were free, moving between countries, evading accountability. In a statement read outside court, Powell's relatives described the sentence as a measure of closure. But nothing, they said, could bring him back. Luke Graham was 31, a father of 2 young children. He died trying to help someone he thought was in danger, lured to Birch Street by a manufactured crisis, ambushed in broad daylight while families watched from their doorsteps. Anton Veragota survived the shooting, but the physical and psychological scars remain. He was an innocent man caught in a targeted execution, a second victim whose injuries were treated as collateral by those who planned the attack. Graham's family, like Powell's, endured years of waiting. Wade Cox was convicted in 2019, but Callum Halpin's extradition meant the case wasn't fully closed until 2023. Detective Chief Inspector Steve Jennings of Essex Police, speaking after the Oppon and Shah convictions, praised the perseverance of investigators who refused to let geography stand in the way of justice. Officers from Greater Manchester Police echoed similar sentiments after Halpin's trial, describing the case as an example of relentless pursuit across borders and years. But beyond the courtroom statements and police press releases, questions remain. Totopi Adana, the third man charged in connection with Robert Powell's murder, is still wanted. His whereabouts remain unknown. Investigators believe he fled the UK shortly after the killing, but no extradition has been secured. The exact nature of the grievance between Nana Oppon and Robert Powell was never fully detailed in court. Prosecutors described it as rooted in business and pride, a dispute that escalated into execution. But the full story, the specific trigger that led to 8 rounds being fired on a quiet Essex street, remains partly obscured. These are not speculations presented as facts, they are simply gaps in the public record. Details that either weren't disclosed during trial or weren't necessary for the convictions that followed. What is clear is the precedent these cases have set. EncroChat evidence, once considered experimental, is now admissible and widely used across the UK justice system. It has contributed to over 1,000 convictions since Operation Venetic began. dismantling organized crime networks that once believed encryption made them untouchable. The technology criminals trusted became the evidence that convicted them, and the international cooperation between British, Spanish, Moroccan, French, and Dutch authorities demonstrated that borders are no longer barriers to accountability, only delays. 2 execution-style murders, 2 international manhunts, 1 digital thread that connected them both. Nana Oppen and Callum Halpin believed that distance could save them, that encrypted phones and false passports could keep them beyond the reach of British law. For years, that belief held, but technology has a long memory. Every message sent on EncroChat was mirrored to servers the users didn't know existed. Every border crossing left a digital fingerprint. Every mobile phone pinged a cell tower, creating a map that couldn't be erased. Geography bought them time, but not freedom. These cases took 4 years to close, but they redefined how UK law enforcement pursues organized crime across borders. They demonstrated that encrypted evidence, once thought inadmissible, could stand up in court, and they proved that international cooperation between the National Crime Agency, Spanish National Police, Moroccan DGSN, and Europol could turn fugitives into defendants. Justice delayed, but not denied. If careful, fact-checked UK crime reporting matters to you, if you want to see more cases like this, where the evidence speaks for itself and the investigation is presented without sensationalism, consider subscribing. We don't chase clicks. We don't speculate beyond what the court record allows. We cover cases where the legal process has concluded, where families have received answers, and where the story can be told responsibly. And if you're from Roydon, Ashton _, or you remember these cases, if you have a perspective you'd like to share respectfully, the comment section is open. We read every one. This has been UK True Crime Files. Until next time.